What is going on, guys? This is Daniel, and I love watching international basketball because of the ball movement and the teamwork. And as you already know, the FIBA World Cup is going on, so I decided to take a look at a close game between Lithuania and Slovenia in the group stage. These are two very solid teams, and I have a lot to show you, so let's get to it. Lithuania is led by big men Jonas Valanciunas and Donatas Motiejunas. Slovenia is led by star guard Goran Dragic. Lithuania ran a ton of high post splits, which is a dribble handoff into a screen and roll, and off the screen and roll, the big man will roll to the basket while the wing will come to the top. This is very tough to defend, and here they find Valanciunas for a foul. Again, a high post split, and watch how this time the guard can come around and attack a tentative big man and get an and one. Watch how this gets the guard going in a head of steam, and here he just misses. Okay, so watch here how the Slovenian big man will hedge. So they hit the wing and they go high-low to Jonas Valanciunas. Because the Slovenia big man is late hedging, Valanciunas gets great low post position and scores. Notice again how Slovenia will hedge this high post split, so they hit a guard and they tried to go high-low, and they may have missed Valanciunas open, but they can still swing it and hit a three. This time, Slovenia tries to overplay to take away the handoff, so they nicely go backdoor, and a Lithuanian guard can attack and score. Here on a high post split, for some reason Motiejunas doesn't hand it off. This stalls the whole offense, and you'll see they eventually take a really bad shot. Lithuania also ran a bunch of flex, and here a wing will have an option of choosing a down screen or a cross screen. Here he chooses a cross screen, gets it inside, but just can't convert. Again flex, and the wing again receives it inside, and he can move it, and they move it pretty well, but this is great defense by Slovenia to force a tough shot. The second part of flex is a screen the screener action, where the guard will receive a down screen to the top, and things do get a bit stagnant here, but they eventually flow into a screen and roll, and the guard can hit a floater. Again flex. And this time they immediately flow into a screen and roll, and they get a pick and pop for a wide open three. But this is how it's supposed to be. Watch how they don't have a shot off the first set of flex screens, but they perfectly flow into a second set and get a wide open three. Notice how off a screen and roll, Lithuania will roll their big man with the wing coming up strong side. This places an enormous amount of pressure on the wing guarding the shooter. Does he check the big man rolling, giving up an open three, or stay with his man, giving up a layup? Here he stays with his man, giving up a layup. And this time off a screen and roll, he'll go to the big man rolling, giving up an open three-pointer. And this caught my attention, as often out of bounds play, they'll swing it with great movement and set a sneaky little cross screen, and this gets their big an open in-close shot. Here's an interesting set Lithuania ran, as though UCLA cut their guard, and Valanciunas will then set a down screen for Motiejunas, which gets Motiejunas a runner off the glass. But now watch Goran Dragic as he'll take it off a made basket and go coast to coast for an and one. Now watch how Slovenia runs the fast break and how they space out. 3-point shooters will run to the 3-point line, while their big man will sprint down the lane and he gets a layup because of it. Slovenia runs a play which I've now seen the 2007 Pistons run it, and last year's Miami Heat team. A shooter will have an option of screens on both sides, starting in a diamond form, and off of that, he can drive and score. Horns is an offensive set with two wings in the corner, two high post players, with the point guard with the ball up top. Slovenia runs the basic screen and roll off of it, and it gets them a wide open 12-foot floater. A screen and roll, and I'm telling you, you roll the big man and bring the strong side guard up top. This is impossible to defend as that wing defender, and a nice pass gets them a layup. This time, Lithuania will hedge the screen and roll, and this opens up a multitude of options, the big man rolling, a shooter. Dragic doesn't find either of those, however, and that stalls the offense, and they have to settle for a long brick. Very nice stuff here, as they'll run a double staggered screen and roll for Dragic, and then there will be a screener to screener down screen. This forces rotation and they get a foul out of it. Really nice stuff. Moving on to defense, and ice is my favorite way to defend a screen and roll. The guard forces baseline, while the big man will sag to contain the drive. They contain this and eventually get a steal. Ice keeps things on one side, and here Slovenia performs it and forces a turnover. Watch how the Slovenian big man can contain the drive, then sink back down to pressure a Valanciunas miss. Again, Ice forcing a tough shot. Watch when you try to hedge, it's an easy pass to the rolling big man, and here he gets a dunk. On this screen and roll, the spacing between the two offensive players involved is so terrible, the Slovenian big man can contain both and they force a turnover. Here a hard hedge by a Lithuanian big man gets him way out of position, and here the Slovenian big man pops for a 3. Unless you employ a show go under philosophy, which I'm not going to get into, if the screener on a screen and roll can shoot, you have to switch it. Otherwise, no matter what you do, hedge or sink low, you're giving up an open 3. Now moving on to helping one pass away, which Slovenia did way too often, giving up open 3s. Here it's because a Slovenian player falls down, which forces them to help one pass away, giving up an open 3. Now I really liked what Lithuania did here. They started off with a basic full court trap, not really trying to force a turnover, but more stalling the offense. Then, when Slovenia finally set up, they went into what looks like a matchup zone. Understandably, Slovenia was all out of sorts, they went into nothing, and they eventually turned it over. Then, Lithuania went into what looks like a traditional 2-3 zone, but of course Slovenia was not prepared to attack it, and they get into nothing, and they eventually have to take a long 2, a very inefficient shot, which goes in. Now, like I said, this was a very close game, and with 2 minutes remaining, let's go through it to see how Lithuania, up to now, were able to hang on. Here, Slovenia runs a back screen play, but the back screen isn't set well enough, so they have to take a pretty difficult shot. Lithuania runs the basic screen and roll out of horns I showed you earlier, but a player falls down, things get very sloppy, but they're eventually bailed out by a miracle shot. Slovenia then runs a nice play where they'll have the big man screen the ball, then set a down screen, and they get a nice curl to the basket and the 2-on-1, and the big man gets rewarded by an open layup attempt, but he blows it. Down 4 with only a minute left, out of desperation, Slovenia understandably tries to trap and force a steal. Lithuania moves it well, and they get a 2-on-1 with perfect spacing. All they have to do is attack, and they seal the game. But unbelievably, and I was shocked, he takes a long, inefficient jumper, and then Dragic gets it and goes coast to coast. Now up 2, Lithuania runs their screen and roll from horns, and this is actually really nice stuff as the 2 Slovenian big men will coordinate a switch. This contains it, and Lithuania gets a nice drive at the basket, but misses. Coming down 2, Dragic nicely drives and finds an open 3-point shooter, but he misses and they're forced to foul. Lithuania did miss one, giving Slovenia one last chance, but without a timeout, there is no organization, and they're basically forced to take a desperation 3, which misses, and Lithuania wins. Well, there you have it, guys. This video's gone a bit long, so let me just end it by saying I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you learned some things, and have a good one and see you next time.